Welcome to Friday, June 13th. So, the 13th is here, and it's usually considered bad luck, but today the Capricorn Moon is intensifying the square that's getting ready to occur between Jupiter and Saturn, to be exact, on the 15th, which is Sunday, the day of rest. So, we are in for a very, very potent volatility week. And tomorrow, on Saturday, the moon will be moving into Aquarius, which is the detached air sign that doesn't show emotions and doesn't use emotions as a way to move forward. And it rules over technology and business that has to do with technology and groups of people, but also it has to do with our intellectual ability to communicate with others. It is an air sign, so air is always a communication. And so the moon here will conjunct Pluto as it gets in between Pluto and Saturn and Neptune. And then Jupiter is also heading into Cancer at the end of this week. We are dealing with also the summer solstice that begins on June 19th and lasts until June 20th. And that will be the beginning of the sun shifting into Cancer and the beginning of the summer month in the northern hemisphere. And this is where the sun moves its body, its orb, this way, so that the northern section gets the sun, a lot of the sun. And as a matter of fact, the sun is very active. It has a lot of plasma that has been shooting out here to the constellation, and it is intensifying the magnetic energy of Earth. We are going to be disconnected from our emotions over this weekend, preparing us, helping us have a more solid stability in terms of all this stuff happening in the week, this week, which is a very volatile situation that's occurring now. We are in the heart and thick of all these actions that we've been speaking about for about 2-3 years since I've been on here. We've been preparing for this. We've been preparing you for this. All the astrologists, astrologers, scientists, everyone, because it is also hurricane season. And it would make sense a hurricane happens now when the planets start to shift and the Earth is also shifting. This is when hurricane season begins because the airflow around the Earth is beginning to change during this time. And it's a big time in the indigenous world where this was very honored as a birthing. And I will talk about all this a little bit more. And then on June 15th, this is when we are going to be having that early morning Mars square conjunction. All these things are going to happen on the 15th, like I just said. And it's going to be an explosive day. And it's going to be about our pride and our sovereignty. Because again, Mars is still in Leo. And major chaos is coming at the 0 degrees of all these planets. We're going to have many planets at the 0 to 2 degrees of the cardinal signs, which is the world axis. And also we're going to have 15 degrees of the fixed signs, which is their world axis, because the 15th degree squares the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs. So we're having a bunch of squares, and again, this square is about energy that's in a box. And you got to get out of that box. Your energy's in there. If you don't, right? And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that is pointing to that occurring. The exact square will occur between Jupiter to Saturn and Neptune a little bit, a couple of days later, at about 3 or 2 degrees, and Jupiter is about ready to leave Gemini, and as it enters Cancer, that's when the square will begin, which will be on the 15th, occurring here with the third square of Jupiter at the varying degrees of Gemini to Saturn.
So let's speak a little bit about this Aquarius Moon that just moved into Aquarius, and it's conjuncting Pluto. So what's going to happen there is that this moon is really going to be asked to throw away what no longer serves us. And we've been talking about this whole time, that these coming years is about releasing what is no longer good for you, what's no longer serving you, your best interests. And it's going to be a very, today into tomorrow, the moon's going to move out tomorrow, but today we're going to really feel that conjunction with Pluto as Aquarius moves in here to take over from Capricorn Moon. Capricorn and Aquarius are ruled by Saturn. That was the traditional ruler of Aquarius, but Aquarius is now ruled by Uranus. We have a day of no emotions, and again, we're using that to help us work out what we need to change, what we need to release on an emotional basis. So this moon is going to help us really release things that no longer serve us, and that really is a big deal because our emotions are involved, especially as Jupiter's heading into Cancer. We're going to feel it a lot, a lot, a lot.
So the moon conjuncting Pluto will also be squaring Venus and Taurus, so we will be resisting our emotions. We're really going to be unhappy here. We're going to want to escape because it's just getting so powerful with Pluto meeting up with the moon in Aquarius. So on the 15th, the big one also is that in the early morning, Mars from Leo will be squaring Uranus, and this is also a very explosive day of pride and sovereignty, because again, Mars is in Leo, and Leo is about that, and Taurus is also a fixed sign. So there's some major stuff happening to Trump's ascendant because his Mars is in Leo. I spoke a little bit about this last week. So the exact square with Jupiter and Saturn also will be occurring on the 15th, and it will square Neptune in a couple of days. And then Jupiter will be moving into Cancer with changes that will take place in a grand scale for a year. And Jupiter, again, I spoke about this last week, loves being in here. And Jupiter is a traditional ruler of Pisces. So Pisces also is happy to be here. And it also rules over Sagittarius, the full moon that was on the 11th, yesterday. And that was, again, a very significant, powerful new full moon as the summer, as the equinox happens, the summer equinox. So then the sun is also going to sextile Chiron and Eres, giving us some really soothing energy because again, Eris is Mars' sister. And we're still going to be feeling the square between Jupiter and Saturn. And then Mercury is going to be having a little minor spat, a half square with Mars. And that's explosive energy that we're going to get a preview of it coming up as Mars and Uranus also will shift. And also it's going to be bringing on a lot of resentment. And Mercury would rather not deal with this. When Mercury's in Cancer, and Mercury doesn't really enjoy being in Cancer as much, so it's dealing with that. So this Jupiter Cancer that's lasting for a year is going to be moving with changes that will take a year to manifest. So we can really use this energy to lock into our homes and whatever your home is. It could be a group of friends on Instagram. It could be your physical home. It could be your family. It could be your friends. And then on June 16th, the Pisces Moon comes in and changes the mood out of Aquarius, out of Capricorn, and brings in this energy that matches with the Jupiter in Cancer energy, since Jupiter rules over Pisces. So now we're getting this Piscean type of energy with Jupiter in Cancer, and Jupiter can manifest as much love as it wants to, and so it's very happy to be in Cancer. The Sun will be sextiling Chiron and Eres with some healing energy that will help us handle these big changes that are occurring. But we will be feeling uh, this square from Jupiter to Saturn for a while, even though Jupiter's heading into Cancer. The square with the outer planets is a big box of energy that has to be released. Slowly and surely it will come out as Jupiter heads into Cancer and the square kind of dies down a little bit, but then again, Saturn will be in Aries for 3 years.
Mercury right now is in the early degrees of Cancer. It's having a half square to Uranus in Gemini and with Mars in Leo. So this is a triangle, and this triangle is really restlessness out of Mercury. And Mercury does not enjoy too much being in Cancer because it's watery, so it can't move around as quickly as it would like. And so this is a triangle that's occurring that is going to make Mercury a little upset with these squares. So what's happening is that Mercury in Cancer, because Cancer is a protective energy and it's a loving, expansive energy, but it also is a cardinal sign. So it can be very easily upset here, the way people speak to you, and your thoughts could be jumbled with Uranus here. And with Mars and Leo, it could feel a little bit bullied. But Mercury in Cancer would not react outwardly. It would be more of an inner anger. And so they will get even with you eventually through revenge or something, but they'll never say it out loud to you. And this is the Cancer energy. And this is why I a lot of times will say that a lot of the Cancer people I've met are a little bit of bullies, because they will get hold up that energy, pent up energy, especially being angry, and then they'll lash out. And when they lash out, it seems like they're bullies because it comes out of nowhere, and you're kind of like, what's going on? And this is just why I'm feeling that there's a lot of bullying going on in the world. It's just going to be more enhanced as this energy rolls in this week with everything else occurring. It's going to get very, very volatile. So Mercury in Cancer, unless it's provoked, it would just stay mad and silently plan your demise if you bother the Cancer person right now. With Mercury here, the way you speak to them, it could get them very upset. And again, America is a Cancer country, and it's about homeland and protecting your home. And that's what the founding fathers wanted, was us protecting our home the way they did against the British, which was the king at the time. And now we see that occurring in America, especially as the president's Mars is here at the very last degrees of Leo, where Mars is headed, and Mars is having all these angles that are kind of negative towards the people and for him. So we're probably going to see some stuff happening here in the next couple of weeks as this conjunction starts to really work its way into the president's sphere of reckoning, so to speak, because this administration is hell-bent on revenge, and it's really obvious with what's going on and how his new cabinet has to support him or they're not allowed to be in their cabinet, which is not democracy. It is fascism, it's authoritarianism. It is heading towards a war. And Israel is now bombing Iran, and Iran just bombed back. Israel's bombing Lebanon, and Lebanon's going to bomb back. So there's a bunch going on in the Middle East, and as we know with the Middle East, there's tribalism going on. Most of the countries are different tribes that were divided and given borders from the people that are in NATO after World War II. I don't know why they did that to them, because it really wasn't them involved in the massacring of the Jews. And then now we're dealing with this thing happening with the Jewish people in Gaza. And I've seen some videos of that, and I will talk about that in a minute, what's going on with those people.
So the other energy is on June 17th, Mars enters Virgo, where it's very uncomfortable. It doesn't allow, it's more timid here. This is the Pisces Moon, and Mars moves into Virgo. And so the Sun is going to sextile Chiron, and is going to have another half square to Venus. And we will be applying value to what we need and in healing ourselves, because the Sun again half squaring Venus in Taurus, and the Sun is right now in Cancer. It's really going to really make us wonder what it is we value, what is it we want for our hearts in Cancer, for our home, for the protection of our home, for things moving on, nurturing wise, for our country also. And then on the 18th, the Aries Moon, late arriving here on the 18th, is going to square Jupiter. And Jupiter is going to square Neptune, and this is going to be really fueling, as Rick Levine says, delusion. So here we have more delusion as all these planets are shifting. Then on the 19th, Mars will have a quincunx to Saturn, and this is going to be very annoying. Things aren't going to work out as we like, as Rick Levine says, so we have to really have patience here. Because Mars just entered Virgo at 0 degrees, so it's going to be here for a while. And then on the 20th is the big thing of the week, is that the Gemini Sun at 29 degrees, late evening, as summer solstice begins at 10:41 p.m. Eastern Time. So the Sun in Gemini at 29 degrees will be moving into Cancer. But the solstice occurs when the Sun is at 29 degrees of Gemini, that ending point. And it's going to be squaring the nodes at 22 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. And these movements of the planets are creating yads, or finger of God. And they're going to be challenging what it is we need and how are we going to work through this energy that's getting all boxed up and moving around. What are we going to do? And then Mars will be activated by 3 outer planets, bringing tremendous amount of energy here in Virgo and into summer for the next 3 months, because this is part of the solstice movement. So everything that's occurring on the 20th and right now this week is going to last for 3 months in the summertime. So this is very, very important. So Mars in Virgo now is going to be activated by these 3 powerful outer planets for the next 3 months this summer. And it's very important because these outer planets are activating that energy that is either for good or for bad. Because Mars, again, is considered a debilitating move into Virgo. It's going to hold a lot of its anger and then explode. So it's so potent because it's also going to square Venus and Taurus, and which is at 5 degrees, and Neptune and Saturn's in Aries at 0 degrees, and the Sun and Aries are going to square Venus, and optimism will try to get in here, and then Cancer is also on the world axis because of Jupiter heading in there at 0 degrees. So these 0 degrees are being activated as all this movement's occurring this week. So we really have to pray and pray, pray that everything works out. Jupiter is about excessiveness because it's big, wants to eat and love everything, kindness. And then Saturn is about constriction, morality, the law. And Neptune is about your perception. And Pluto retrograde will be helping how we see these distortions of light. It's going to really highlight that we live in a world of distortion of light. And that's what Heather Emsworth said. And so that makes sense that there's a lot of illusion going on, a lot of buyer's remorse for voting for the current president. So at 0 to 2 degrees, the moon, Sedna, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Haumea, Sun, and Neptune are all at the degrees of the world axis. At 0 to 2 degrees of the cardinal signs and at 15 degrees of fixed signs. So Mars and Virgo here is about shamanism, remembering our ancient healings, because again, it's in Virgo and that's about healing, and also about our global consciousness, how we need to remember a long time ago how things were actually helping us, the planet, the plants, everything. We have lost contact with the earth. And so Pluto sextile Neptune is going to be feeding into this memory. It's going to help us remember who we are, how we are a natural part of the earth, and how we coexist with everything living on the earth. And Saturn again is going to sextile Uranus and Sedna, and that's going to bring in spiritual healing, pioneering things because of Aries, and we're going to be more connected, but also seismic energy will increase as it already has, and finances will be in focus. The whole world will be focusing on finance. And when it ignites Sedna, humanity is going through a metamorphosis, a discovery. And Sedna is the tip of the whale constellation. And this is reminding us that there's a lot of wisdom in the whales because they've been here for a long, long time. So if we can connect to that part of us again, we could start to see the reality of Earth and humans and how we regenerate and how we heal ourselves and how we can use and what has been given to us by Gaia, the Mother Earth, and how we can heal ourselves through these things without having to make pills and things that aren't exactly compatible with our inner workings of our body. And that's a huge thing. And then Venus again is going to be active, possibly causing some earthly seismic events as it is in Taurus, the Earth. And so we are really looking here with Venus and Taurus for the love of the Earth. So when she quincunxes other planets, it's really going to disrupt that harmony that Venus so much craves. I crave it so much. And then the moon in Taurus arrives and is going to bring back love for the Earth, meeting up with Venus. So it's going to give us a chance again to realize the benefits we have of being humans on Earth and how we can go back to healing ourselves together as a community versus fighting with each other. Saturn is going to be grounding a lot of these movements this week, so we're happy for Saturn to be there and help us with our delusions, but also give us structures so that we have a place to go. Because again, Saturn is also in Aries. So, according to Pam Gregory, one of the most renowned astrologists right now in the world, she says that when Saturn is grounding all of us, this is our indication that destiny has arrived. Because again, all the outer planets rule our destiny. The destiny has arrived, and it's a potent destiny. It's an expansion of our consciousness. Our heart opens up more with Jupiter in Cancer. Our heart's opening. We are starting to possibly see, and a lot of times with Mars here kind of having a meeting with Neptune, that's a quincunx, they call it, you can feel alone and lost. And we can see that out in the world. A lot of people are feeling lost. They feel like they've lost their power. And then Moon in Aries meets up with Venus. And the Moon in Aries meeting up with Venus is really going to spur us on to be more heartfelt in our interactions with other people versus being aggressively vengeful or anything like that. And so I said a lot there, and it's really kind of confusing because there's so many things occurring that it's absolutely mind-boggling. It's confusing. So I kind of want to break it down a little bit. What's going on with this week, from what I've been studying all week, is really that all these points of 0 to 2 degrees of the cardinal signs being activated, with Jupiter heading into Cancer and Saturn and Neptune at 0 and 2 degrees of Aries, because Neptune right now is still just right there. And then, of course, Pluto is at 3 degrees, 2 degrees retrograding back in Aquarius. And Aquarius is a fixed sign. So it's having a lot of oppositions and conjunction with the moon at the beginning of the week, that it's really a powerful time that it can't be reiterated enough or even explained enough. But if you've been feeling things like I have, like scatterbrain, because all these things are happening, especially to Mars and Leo, my son is Leo. So all these things are happening to where we are also questioning ourselves and wondering who we are. How do we fit into this world? How do we fit into the new things that are happening? How can we heal ourselves and help other heal themselves? And these are something that astrologists are really people that are very empathetic and soak up energy to the point of where we have to share what we're doing because it's why we're here on Earth. And with Jupiter at 29 degrees of Gemini, the very last ending, as you know, is very important. 29 and 28 degrees, 27, and then 0 and 1 and 2 degrees. All these things means that it is a huge transition, not just for today, but for a long time to come. This is the setup. And Jupiter has just moved out of Gemini, and once it heads into Cancer, it's going to have an opposition to its own sign. It's got a quincunx to its own to Saturn. And what I'm starting to feel about this week is that this week, my past podcast last week, we talked about how it was very volatile. Now the volatility has hit the fan to where if you're not able to understand in some way what's happening, you'll be separated out by the universe in terms of growth. And you can still get on board. You have plenty of time. It doesn't have to be today. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. But it has to slowly happen for you as Jupiter's here in Cancer, where it's giving you what you need to change. All the emotional love you need to change. And Mars is in Leo, and that's also helping you with your heart chakra. so that you can do things that you love and understand why you're here on Earth. And it's really going to affect a lot of young people who may be going through life changes like graduations, marriage, babies, jobs, whatever it is that they're going through. A lot of younger people are going to be really needing to slow down and meditate mindfully so that they can get through this difficult time. Because a lot of these movements of the planet, some of them were prominent in the 80s. When I was growing up, in the 80s was really kind of a crazy time, and into the 90s. And then some of it's occurring that happened in the 60s, and we know what's going on in the 60s. That was a huge revolutionary culture time where civil rights got enacted, but there were also a lot of assassinations in the 60s. So this this need to murder is that Mars energy. So now Mars going into Virgo is going to be more meditative, more wanting and needing to heal. It's not comfortable in Virgo. Mars is like unable to use its full energy to make things happen because Virgo again is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury's super fast, but this is an earth sign, and Mercury in Virgo is more of an intellectual person, and Mars really doesn't want to sit and think about what's going to happen. It wants to do what it wants to do now, 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 now. And so that's why it loves being in Aries and also rules Scorpio. We have a lot of situations here where you don't want to really act out, so you're going to hold in the energy. And that's what's happening. So on the equinox, the big deal for the equinox is that as the Earth shifts into this situation where the sun is right directly on it, it causes massive water, ocean movements. And as we can see, it's been raining like crazy since all week. It's been raining in Florida pretty much every day, which is how I grew up in Thailand. So all this global warming is turning parts of America basically into the tropics. And so when we live in Florida, it's kind of like the summer is our winter. We stay inside, we don't really go outside. The sun is so strong, especially with the solar flares arriving on Earth recently. And I guess last night there was a huge solar flare that hit the Earth, and that affects us too because we're made of particles. Um, and atoms and all these things. And so we are all feeling it. And as you can see in the outer world, that all the war that's occurring is only getting more. And the power grab is on. There's a lot of power grabbing going on right now. There's a lot of infighting. There's a lot of illegal things happening with the government in terms of due process, in terms of civil rights. And a lot of those people that were honored for their civil rights, like JFK, a lot of his stuff is being demolished by the new administration. The garden, the JFK Center for the Arts is being renovated. All the board members have been fired. So there's a lot of stuff going on with culture, and that has to do with energy of Pluto being in Aquarius, because again, Pluto um, is bringing in a new way of groups of people interacting with each other, right? So, yes, the government was too sloppy, using our money for the wrong ways. And now this administration who criticized that is also going to use that money in more individualized selfish ways for themselves, not really for the people. So either way, government always is corrupt because it is something that is so much red tape that sometimes you try to get in there and say fire people because it's too many people work for this administration or work for this Social Security or whatever they're doing. It's difficult to go back in there and figure out what they've been doing. It's been doing it for so long. And so when the new people come in and they want to change things, there's always chaos. There's always, something going on when you have a leader come in that wants to do something different than the prior leader, right? So we're going to be dealing with all these changes a lot coming up because this is the beginning of it all. And by July 5th, there's been many predictions of a huge mega storm and volcano erupting in the Pacific Rim. And it's going to be such a huge tsunami that it could be 100 feet waves, and no one can survive that. So we're looking at elimination of masses and masses of people in the thousands to millions as the earth also is trying to heal herself and as people continue to harm her by going back to carbon-based products, by digging for minerals that they need to make their computers, for oil being dredged up still from the earth. Every time you drill into the earth, you are basically stabbing Mother Earth. And the indigenous people of the world that still live indigenously with the earth hand in hand, they hold all the knowledge of the past and they know how to heal themselves with plants and herbs. And not every person that lives with the earth is indigenous. Um, Indigenous means you have information from your ancestors that go back thousands of years, not just 100 years, but thousands of years have been passed on to you. And a lot of that indigenous knowledge is born in you. It's something that you just know and go towards. When I visited my mom in her hometown in Thailand, northeast Thailand, it's called Isan. Everyone there's indigenous. All of her cousins came to say hi and see me and make me food and it's just a way of being that they all help each other. They all talk to each other and they know how to make foods from their parents. And so that's what I learned when I was there was that I'm actually from an indigenous tribe of people. And as a little girl, I remember visiting my uncle's farm and riding on a water buffalo and swimming in a rice paddy and eating all these foods. And when I came to America and then we weren't allowed to eat it because the stepdad thought it stunk up the house, I remember losing a part of myself and then going back to Thailand but not being able to speak English because the military didn't want you to speak your language anymore. I remember being lost in kindergarten, first grade. I couldn't connect to a lot of people. And I came back here again, and so then I realized I don't really belong anywhere. But my indigenous chromosomes eventually brought me back to my food and the love of the earth. And I've been gardening for about 30 years. Every house I've had a garden. And my last house had 2 acres. I gardened there and it was just the best. And now I'm gardening here, and I've got my Thai plants from my mom's seeds she brought me this past year from Thailand. I have the seeds directly from Thailand, and I've been planting those, and I'm starting to feel like I understand myself a little bit better, and that helps my children to understand who they are. And this is what has been broken in this cycle of evolution, is we have lost touch with the earth through technology, through moving, through building concrete things and metal and steel and misusing the land for profit, not for survival, but for profit. And a lot of these things are what is going to need to change. But they're not going to change overnight because the Aries period of life really caused a lot of harm because then it was power over people. And it was about greed, it was about jealousy, it was about hatred and division. And then when the colonizers, who are mostly from the Western world, the colonizers that recently colonized a bunch of things, the indigenous people are still feeling that disruption of natural being. The people in Gaza are indigenous to that land, and so are the Jews. But the Zionists that came out of World War II, when the powers that be decided to give them part of the Gaza Strip, they are not real Jews according to the real Jewish people. Um, and yesterday I saw a video of one of the one of the powerful people that run the government now in Israel went to a section of Jerusalem that is where the Hasidic Jews live, and they're the people that have like the longer hair coming down their face, the men, and then they always have a hat on. I can't remember what it's called, but they always have that on. And they had painted the Hasidic Jews. I think that's what we call them. Just, I'm sorry if I said it wrong. They had painted Gaza flags on their buildings, which was like a temple. And you're not allowed to display the Gaza flag at all in Jerusalem. Again, this is a authoritarian rulership. It's not democracy at all. And ever since the Jewish people, I just learned about this myself. I didn't really understand it, but ever since the Jewish people were given land in the West Bank, um, they have been slowly been breaking international law right from the very beginning and kicked out a lot of um, Muslims out of that area and settled it. And no one ever came in to say you can't do that. You're breaking international rules. And why is that? It's because the colonizers are all behind NATO and behind Israel in having the new Zionist movement come in and start to conquer that land because that's what the colonizers do. And that began in the age of Aries. After they left the age of Taurus and destroyed the love of Mother Nature, Venus, where the story comes out that in the Garden of Eden, the snake is bad because he gave you temptation, whereas the snake represents the feminine divinity of shedding its skin, of being able to teach you that you have to always be changing and learning things. And so when the female feminine energy was destroyed, the Aries age arose. Before the Pisces age, the Aries arose. And that's when all the conquering of Alexander the Great and all these things occurred. And as we shifted into the age of Pisces, they took religion and made it a weapon where a lot of what is it, hypocritical things began to happen. And then Jesus came along during the age of Pisces to help heal the world, and the Jews and the Romans got together and killed Jesus because he was too much for the people. He's indigenous. He loves the land. He loves the people. And when you see things like this happening, and you understand that it wasn't really the Jewish people that killed Jesus, it was really the Romans causing division. And that's how the whole thing about Jewish people started to happen, is that they are just about money, about surface things. And as you can see, there are many, many filthy rich Jewish people in the world, completely generational, thousands of years of money. And that again caused the problems in Germany for World War II. So now we're beginning to head into the age of Aquarius, where everyone is equal. Every man and woman is equal to each other. No one has more power than the other. And now we're seeing the fight for that, where they want to hold on to what happened through delusion and colonization and slavery and nuclear bombs, all these things. They're holding on to that because they won't let go of that power that they have won over 1,000 years ago. And we're talking about all people that colonize, all people that have slaves back in the day, and now they have modern day slaves through human trafficking. And human trafficking still occurs. There's still children being abused. There's still all these things happening. And I thank my mother for getting me the safety during my young life and protecting me, and I appreciate that. But really the problem is that money and greed doesn't stop. And it's difficult to fight them because, again, they can use the military. They can use AI now to know things about you, put you in jail without due process. And so we are living in a time that's worse than World War II. We are living in a time worse than the American Revolution. We are living during the times of like the Crusades, when people that were Catholics went and killed everyone that wasn't them. And a lot of history will show that the Crusades occurred because people were starving, because they had lost touch with the earth and how to eat, how to heal themselves with the herbs, how to eat things that they don't know, like roots and leaves and bark, and became a very carnivore type of life because they were eating people that they killed so they could survive and have more energy to go kill more people and conquer more lands and take over their women and domesticate women, make them their slaves, their harems, their concubines, whatever it is you want to call it. The destruction of the feminine divine, which is Mother Earth. As they destroyed women, they destroyed Mother Earth. It went hand in hand. And Heather Emsworth spoke today about how this occurred in such a way that it's something that's deeply within our psyche of abuse and fear. And so that's what we're feeling now, is fear, abusive tendencies, killing children, and there would never be enough revenge for the colonizers. There'll never be enough. They'll never get enough. And they pit people against each other, tribes against tribes, moms against dads. And the social media and everything is stacked up against people to fit in, to look a certain way, to have a certain hairstyle, to wear your makeup a certain way, to get Botox when you're getting old, color your hair. So we're not respecting the stages of life that humans need to go through so that they can have more critical thinking and appreciate their life as they get older, instead of competing with young women whose time is for them to come up and enjoy their life and their fertility. I think of being a grandma as a promotion. If you have grandchildren, you've been promoted, right? But if you have grandchildren you never see, or you have children you never talk to because you're angry and you can't forgive your children, then this is where that colonization comes in, because now we're separating ourselves from the truth of what love truly is. And so when there's fighting and there's wars, there's so many other things happening that we forget what we're here on earth to do. Okay, we're here on earth to appreciate life, to love, to enjoy this beautiful paradise, which is the Garden of Eden, and understand that, snakes give you life. So we really have a long way to go. And the prediction for the global warming, the way it's going, Earth will probably not be inhabitable, most of it, in 2085. We'll have to go live on the North Pole, where it'll be warm, but not so warm that we'll die from it. And the oceans heating up will kill our food and the animals that we eat. So we'll be going backwards or forward into a lifestyle of what we had before, which happened 10, 15,000, 100,000 years ago. It's a long time ago, millions of years ago. And then we'll have to restart again and reset and come back again as cavemen who really don't know what's going on. All we have is living in a cave, and this is all we got to eat. So we're going to have to figure out how to eat moss. We're going to have to figure out again how to eat everything, and maybe the next time around we'll be better, we'll do better. But there's always going to be that dark side to everything. And so the northern hemisphere represents the light. And we need darkness, because in darkness is where we are born, out of a dark uterus cave. And darkness brings us life, according to Heather Emsworth. So when we reject the darkness and have all these street lights on, and we're afraid of the darkness, that again is from the Aries age of trying to get rid of any hope you might have by colonizing and making you feel less than. So it's playing out on the world stage right now, and America, as a leader, has voted, which I don't believe is really true, because the way they knew he was going to win before anything came out. And then once you learn about plantar, palatar, once you learn about that, and then you learn about Thiel and his cronies, you start to see that it is a mad scientist thinking what they think we need as a society, and they want to play God like all the kings and rulers of the olden age, like Alexander the Great, who they idolized for leading the charge of cannibalism and going into the world and killing people, with also Kublai Khan, who 6% or 8% of the world is related to, mostly from the Russian area. So we have a lot of history that a lot of us don't know and a lot of us don't care. I just don't want to know. And they say, well, what can we do about it? It's going to happen anyway, so why should we care? We should continue on with our lives. And yeah, you should continue on with your life. You should be happy. You should try to spread love and cheer. But if you ignore the other side of it, the dark side, where the birth of everything occurs, then you go into the light, and that light is going to burn you. It's going to give you cancer. It's going to be glaringly obvious these next 3 months who is on board with peace and love for all on earth, especially our animals and children and plants that can't defend themselves. Who wants to take care of that, or who wants to just move to Mars and, fuck it, who cares, right? So if that's how you feel, then I pray for your soul. But it's really important to protect the people that can't protect themselves. The 19th, with Jupiter, 29 degrees of Gemini, it's going to be super powerful. And again, all the planets and angles I might have said could be wrong, because again, it gets confusing for me. But again, like I said last week or the week before, it always allows me to see that what I've been thinking and feeling and seeing is correctly diagnosed for myself in terms of prejudice is still here. The colonizers have made it that way, and they still exist, and they keep building all their things, and they're very prideful. They want to show off all the things they've done, conquering, killing, money, changing history, changing structures that have been standing there for a long time that are revered, invading other countries because they're jealous, they need their minerals, they need things from them. America wants to invade Greenland that belongs to Denmark, and that again is a NATO country. And I wouldn't be surprised if America administration never goes beyond this administration, because they don't want to ever leave their power, and all the people are complicit helping ruin one of the best countries in the world. Is really headed for a karmic reckoning that I can't even imagine. But I've seen it portrayed in how it could happen, and the robots could just take over, like in the Matrix, like in Westworld. All these stories. Westworld was written back in the '60s, before there was a lot of computers, and it's so relevant today that it's crazy. Same with Animal Farm. It's so relevant now, and these are the things we study in school to help us understand what this is happening. But a lot of people will, don't want to learn anything, don't want to hear it, oh, it's stupid, and so that's where we're at, is that the lack of learning is now biting us in the ass, because a lot of people aren't interested in history and the right way to do things. They just want what they want now and screw everything else. So if we continue on this road, there's going to be a reckoning, and it's coming this year. July 5th could be it, where the earth just explodes because she's so angry and in pain. She's in so much pain that she just might say, okay, you little rats, we're just gonna, you little ants, we're just going to, I can't, it's not that I want to hurt you, it's just that I have to, this is my cycle of recycling, and the earth will always be here, and we won't, just like before. The someone who built the pyramids were conscious. Cleopatra was conscious. And they didn't do everything perfectly either. They married their brother. So humans really have a long journey to realize that envy, hatred, jealousy, conquering, colonizing. None of that works. It's all based in fear of not having enough, of needing more, more, more. Bigger house, bigger car, more gas, more electricity. None of that's good for the earth, and none of it's good for us either. Because all the CO2 now is really starting to harm a lot of us. All the fires burning. So, I don't want to be doomsday-ish. Because the good side of all of this is that we are awakening to our indigenous selves. We are awakening and being reminded of our power, of how we can be, how we can be magnificent people, how we can do all kinds of things if we work together. We can eventually have a spaceship that actually finds another galaxy in light years, and we can teleport. We can have psychic abilities that we used to have come back. And Stranger Things is the last season's coming out in the fall, and Stranger Things is really a precursor to what can happen as we disregard nature. Nature is more powerful. The sun is the most powerful. The moon helps us with our emotions. But the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, will always win, and it will protect Earth. Have a good week. Enjoy the solstice that begins on the 19th. This is a very blessed time, this equinox. There's a lot of luck and magic in there that we can use to help heal ourselves, help heal the earth, help heal others. So use that energy for good and not for bad. The last thing we need is another nuclear war. The last thing we need is hate. The last thing we need is revenge. The last thing we need is greed. The last thing we need is silence. The last thing we need is not caring, being a robot. And the last thing we need is powerful, rich people telling us that we are actually their slaves. I know it seems crazy to believe these things, but who would have ever thought the Holocaust would occur? Who would ever have thought what's going on in Gaza would be occurring now? Whoever thought that could happen? China will most likely attack Taiwan. North Korea will most likely attack South Korea. So these are things we must really ponder, because the more positive energy we put out, the more love, the more caring, the better off our humanity, the whole world would be if we give off these vibes. Vibes. So I appreciate you all for being here. And to my spiritual children, I love you. And you make me so happy every day when I see the stuff that you do. I'm so happy. And I really love you guys. And it's my son's birthday. My youngest coming up. It's going to be 15 years old. Thank you, God. Thank you for all the gifts that the universe has given me. Thank you. And thank you to you guys, too. Please comment and subscribe. I would love to meet you guys. If you need to talk, please leave a message. Any questions, I will answer to the best of my ability. So, thank you. See you next week.